How much does love really cost? Maxwell Okoro was a man who had it all. A successful entrepreneur, he had built his tech company from the ground up, earning both respect and wealth. But it wasn't always that way from the start. In fact, things had only begun to go well for him in the past few years. Maxwell was born to a middle-class family of 3 boys and 2 girls, he being the first child. Although Maxwell was not born with a silver spoon, they still had a decent life. Everything turned upside down after he graduated from the higher institution where he obtained his first degree in business administration. He had finished like every other optimistic graduate and was ready for the labor market. He had often envisaged what life would be like after graduation. He would get a high-paying job on the side while processing his papers to travel abroad for his master's degree. He had planned to become a millionaire in dollars before he became 25 years old. But the harsh reality of the Nigerian labor market dawned on him soon enough. For a year and 6 months, he was unemployed. He had done everything he could, but nothing seemed to work. Plus, a lot of financial pressure was beginning to come from his home as his parents and siblings expected so much from him as someone who was now a university graduate. Life was tough for Maxwell. He tried a lot of things, but nothing worked. He decided to try entrepreneurship and started so many different businesses with some of his friends, but none of them was successful. And this was his ordeal for many years, until finally one of the startups he had been working on over the years had a major breakthrough, and his life began to advance from that time. In a very short time, Maxwell became very successful and was fast becoming the talk of the town. But despite his professional success, Maxwell felt a void in his personal life. Throughout his days of searching for wealth, he had deprived himself of love. He always believed then that there was no need to talk about love if you didn't have money, so he didn't really give much thought to that topic back then. But after he had become successful, he realized how lonely he had been over the years and eagerly desired to fill that void that he felt. That was until he met Grace. Grace was everything Maxwell had ever dreamed of. She was stunningly beautiful, with a magnetic presence that drew people to her. As an Instagram influencer, she had thousands of followers who admired her glamorous lifestyle. Grace was the kind of girl whose beauty could sway any man, and she had the corresponding personality to match that beauty. Maxwell was captivated by her charm and ambition. He was determined to win her heart and love at all costs. Grace had resonated with his soul in a way no other lady had. She was just what he had imagined a wife to be, and even more. He vowed to earn her love, no matter the cost, and he spared no expense. Maxwell was the kind of guy that believed that for you to get a good enough girl, you had to have enough money. He often reinforced his belief by saying that good things are often expensive, and that the same also went for good girls. Maxwell flaunted his wealth at Grace with every opportunity he got. He would gift her expensive bags and shoes and jewelry, and soon enough Grace developed feelings for him. Maxwell's courtship of Grace was nothing short of extravagant. He showered her with expensive gifts, designer handbags, luxury vacations, and the latest gadgets. He funded her lavish lifestyle, believing that his generosity would secure her love. Grace, in turn, seemed to enjoy the attention and the gifts, posting about them on her social media, which only fueled Maxwell's desire to please her more. Their relationship became a spectacle, with Grace's followers eagerly watching every new gift and vacation. Maxwell enjoyed the attention too, feeling a sense of pride in being able to provide such a luxurious life for the woman he loved. They traveled far and wide: the Bahamas, Paris, Dubai, Italy, the United States. They literally went everywhere. Grace often told Maxwell how much she loved him and how he was the best thing that had happened to her, and Maxwell never failed to spoil her with more and more thoughtful gifts and presents, including some houses and a Rolls-Royce he bought her on one of the trips they embarked on. Maxwell always did the best he could for Grace. However, beneath the surface, doubts began to creep in. Was Grace with him for who he was or for what he could provide? But he would often brush these thoughts off and deem them as selfish and irrational. As time went on, Maxwell's business began to face challenges. His financial situation started to deteriorate. A major business partner had swindled him and made away with the company's profits. On the other hand, the tech market was volatile, and a few bad investments put his company in jeopardy. Despite the mounting pressure, Maxwell continued to spend on Grace, hoping to keep her happy and maintain her affection. He believed that if he could just get through this rough patch, everything would be fine. Maxwell's friends and family noticed the strain and tried to warn him. They saw how his once thriving business was now struggling, and how his relationship with Grace seemed more transactional than genuine. But Maxwell was blinded by his love for Grace and his desire to keep her in his life. He didn't want his love to be cheap or a thing of the mouth alone. He wanted to prove his love for her. Things really got bad for Maxwell, and he soon became bankrupt and could not afford the basic things of life. He had to sell off his houses and several cars he had acquired over the years to pay his debt, but it wasn't still enough. He sold off his landed properties and relocated to the village to a small bungalow. Maxwell was barely scraping by, and every passing day was a struggle. The reality was harsh. One evening, after a particularly stressful day at the new job he got, Maxwell returned home to find Grace packing her bags. He tried to find out what was going on when she lashed out at him, telling him that she didn't come to this world to suffer, and that she has nothing to do with poverty or with the poor, and that whatever they had was now in the past. Maxwell tried his best to beg her not to leave, reminding her of their love and all they had been through. But she laughed hilariously at him and told him that he was not really her kind of guy, and that she just had to pretend to love him back then because he gave her everything she wanted. But there was no need to continue to pretend now that he had nothing. These words struck Maxwell like lightning, and he was so heartbroken to say a word. He was taken aback by all the love they had shared. Tears ran down his cheeks as she left his house. He begged her on his knees not to leave him. He was literally crying and holding on to her bag to persuade her to stay, but everything he said fell on deaf ears. She had met someone else, another wealthy man, who could continue to fund her lifestyle without the financial strain Maxwell was experiencing. Despite all his sacrifices, Grace left without a second thought, leaving Maxwell devastated and alone. Maxwell's world crumbled. He had given everything to Grace, only to be abandoned when he needed support the most. They say that love is costly, but nothing was more costly than the mistake Maxwell made. He had spent his life on Grace, all because of love, and she had skillfully dribbled his tender heart. The betrayal cut so deep, he now knew a pain that had not known him, and he constantly found himself questioning everything he had believed about love and relationships. In the quiet that followed Grace's departure, Maxwell had time to reflect on his choices. He realized that he had equated love with material wealth, believing that money could buy affection and loyalty. But true love, he understood now, could not be sustained by money alone. It required mutual respect, understanding, and genuine connection, things that money could never buy. Maxwell spent many sleepless nights pondering his mistakes. He thought about the warnings from his friends and family and how he had ignored them. He realized that he had been living in a fantasy, blinded by his infatuation with Grace and the glamorous life she represented. Determined to rebuild his life, Maxwell threw himself into his work. He restructured his company, made smarter investments, and slowly but surely his business began to recover. Along the way, he met Nina, a woman who was different from Grace in every way. Maxwell had been bitten once, and now he knew that money can buy attention, but it could never buy true love, so he did not try to impress Nina with his money. Nina valued Maxwell for his character, his resilience, and his kindness. She stood by him through thick and thin, and together they built a relationship based on mutual respect and love. Nina was a breath of fresh air. She was supportive and understanding, and she appreciated Maxwell for who he was, not for what he could provide. Their relationship grew slowly but steadily, built on a foundation of trust and genuine affection. Maxwell's journey taught him a valuable lesson about the true cost of love. It wasn't about the money spent or the gifts given, but about the genuine connection and mutual respect between two people. He realized that true love was about being there for each other, through good times and bad, and valuing each other for who they truly were? Drop the answers to these questions in the comment section. 1. What could Maxwell have done differently to ensure that his relationship with Grace was based on genuine affection rather than material wealth? 2. Did Maxwell do the right thing to love Grace the way he did? 3. Could Grace really be blamed? Tell us what you think, and support our channel by liking and subscribing to our channel, and also turning on the notification bell so that you will be the first to be notified when next we post a video. Remember, it doesn't cost a thing. See you in the next one.